Good morning, students. Welcome to K-Tech High School and Junior College. Children, we have already started our lesson number 1, Heredity and Evolution from Science Part 2. Children, today in this video, we shall be learning Darwin's theory of natural selection. Now let's see what it is. Charles Darwin had collected innumerable specimens of plants and animals, and depending upon the observation of those specimens, he published the theory of natural selection, which preaches the survival of the fittest. Now children, look here. He is Charles Darwin. Okay, so he had collected innumerable, that is many number of species of plants and animals, and then depending upon those observation of those specimen, he published the theory of natural selection. That means the organism, that is the plants or an animal who are fittest will survive the nature. So for this purpose, Darwin had published a book. The title given to that book is Origin of Species. Now while explaining the concept, Darwin says that all the organisms reproduce prolifically. Now prolifically means that producing a great number or amount of some organism. So while explaining the concept, Darwin says that all the organism reproduce prolifically means produce in a great number. Now all the organisms compete with each other in a life-threatening manner. And in this competition, only those organisms sustain, which shows the modification essential for winning the competition. Children, natural selection, it plays an important role. And why does it play an important role? Because nature selects only those organisms which are fit to live. Okay, that means which are strong and they can adapt the environmental changes. That means they are fit to live. And the rest which cannot adapt or acquire the environmental condition, they perish. That means they die. However, children, some objectives were raised against the theory. Some of the main objections are: the first one, natural selection is not the only factor responsible for evolution. Second, Darwin did not mention any explanation about useful and useless modification. And the third one is, there is no explanation about slow changes and abrupt changes. So, as stated, there was some main objection against the theory of Charles Darwin. The first one is, natural selection is not only factor responsible for evolution. They say that natural selection, that means only the fit to live or survive, and the rest who could not acquire the environmental changes perish. This is not only the factor responsible for evolution. Okay, so this was the first main objection. Second one, Darwin did not mention any explanation about useful and useless modification. So there were no any explanation about his theory that whether it was useful or useless modifications are there. So therefore there were no explanation of about slow changes and sudden changes. So irrespective of all these objections, Darwin's work on evolution has been a milestone. That means Darwin's work on the theory of evolution, it made a significant stage or an event in the development of something. That's why it says that Darwin's work on evolution has been a milestone. Understood, children? Now let's move ahead and let's learn Lamarckism. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck proposed that morphological changes occurring in the living organisms are responsible for evolution, and the reason behind those morphological changes is the activities or laziness of that organism. He called this concept as principle of use or disuse of organs. So what does this scientist name? Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. He proposed that morphological changes, morphological here children means the shape and structure of an organism. So it changes occurring in the living organism. So these changes are responsible for the evolution. Okay, for the evolution. What does evolution mean here? The gradual development. Okay, so the morphological changes occurring in living organism, they are responsible for the evolution, right? And the reason behind those morphological changes. What is the reason behind the morphological changes? Is the activities or the laziness of that organism. How much that organism is active or lazy. It depends upon these two things for the morphological changes. Therefore, he called this concept as use or disuse of organs. To understand this better, children, let's see some example. Now look here, what he stated. Further, he said that the neck of giraffe has become long due to browsing on leaves of tall plants by extending their neck for several generations. So what is happening here? It was assumed that first giraffe, okay, now giraffe eats green plants, right? So continues extending its neck, okay, so that he could eat the leaves of tall plants. What the giraffe used to do? Extend their necks. So this would be happening for several generations, and for this reason the neck of the giraffe has become too long. Why? Due to browsing on leaves of tall plants by extending their necks. Okay. Now let's see the next one example is the shoulders of an ironsmith have become very strong. Due to what? Due to frequent hammering movement. Now the ironsmith, what he does? Due to the frequent hammering movement, his shoulders have become more and more strong. Right? Are you getting me, children? Good. Now wings of birds like ostrich and emu have become weak due to no use. Now you must have seen this bird ostrich where this bird cannot fly, right? But it is a type of bird. Why it cannot fly? Because this bird his wings have become weak because of no use. Understood, children? Now legs of the birds like swan and duck have become useful. Why it has become useful for these swan and duck? For swimming, due to living in water. Okay, these birds they live in water, right? Swan and duck, you must have seen them. So their legs help them swim in water. And children, you must have seen snake as well, right? So snakes have lost their legs by modification in their body for burrowing habits. Okay, they dig inside the mud. Okay, they burrow inside. Therefore, they have lost their legs by the modification of their body. So all these examples are types of acquired character. Okay, and these are examples of acquired characters and are transferred from one to another generation. So this is called as theory of inheritance of acquired characters or Lamarckism. So what is Lamarckism, children? It is the theory of inheritance. Then what does inheritance mean? It means a particular characteristic received from parents through genes. Okay. So the theory of this inheritance of acquired characters. Okay. The characters which have received is known as Lamarckism. Are you all getting me, children? Have you all understood what is Lamarckism? Good. Let's move ahead. Now, development of organs due to specific activities or their degeneration due to no use at all was widely accepted. Okay, but transfer of those characters from generation to generation, it was rejected. Why? Because it had been verified many times that modification brought in us are not transferred to the next generation, and thereby Lamarck's theory was disapproved. The living organism can transfer the characters which it has acquired to the next generation. So this is called as ancestry of acquired characters. Understood, children? Good. Next we shall learn about speciation. Now you must be wondering, what is speciation? Children, speciation means the formation of new and distinct species in the course of evolution. Okay, in the course of evolution. The formation of new species and distinct species in the course of evolution. Okay, it is known as speciation. Now let's understand it better. Formation of new species of plants and animal is the effect of evolution. Species is the group of organisms that can produce fertile individual and through natural reproduction. Each species grows in specific geographical condition. Their food, habitat, reproductive ability and period, it is different. However, genetic variation is responsible for the formation of new species from the earlier one. Besides, geographical and reproductive changes are also responsible. Now look here, children. Formation of new species of plants and animal. What it is known as? It is due to the effect of evolution, right? Due to the effect of evolution, there is formation of new species of plant and also animals. Now, species is the group of organisms that can produce fertile individual through natural reproduction. Now each species, it grows in specific geographical condition like their food, the habitat, their reproductive ability and the period. Okay, it is all different, right? Now, what is their food? How they have adapted the environmental condition? What is what is their reproductive ability? And the period in which those organisms have been formed. It is totally different. However, genetic variation is also responsible for formation of new species from the earlier one. That means if there is any variation in the genes, okay, this also is responsible for the formation of new species from the earlier ones, okay. The earlier ones may have some other characters. Now, due to some genetic variation, that is variation in the genes, has formed a new species which is totally different from the earlier one. Now, beside all these things, geographical and reproductive changes are also responsible. Now, what do we mean by geographical condition? It means how is the climate of that area, of that land, okay? How is the organism living? Are they acquiring the environmental condition? Is it okay for them to adapt those conditions? So these are all geographical terms which are also responsible for the reproductive changes, okay. So geographical or reproductive isolation also leads to speciation. So all these geographical condition and the reproductive ability, it all leads to speciation. It means speciation, the formation of new and distinct species in the course of evolution is called as speciation. Have you all understood, children? Good. So, in our today's topic, we have learnt about Darwin theory of natural selection, the main objection raised on Darwin's theory of natural selection. We have learnt Lamarckism, right? And also we have learned speciation. I hope, children, everyone has understood today's topic. Thank you, dear students. With this, we have ended our today's lecture. We shall see you with a new topic in our next lecture. Till then, thank you, students.